not control his family, or at least he refuses to. When his parents visit and give us crap for forcing our kids to do chores, he gives in, and the house slowly becomes a mess that I've been left to clean up. When his siblings visit, we're expected to clean up after them. I never agreed to this, so now I leave. I lock up my office and go to my parents' home. I meet up with his family at restaurants or other public places. His parents have learned that now when they visit, they have to clean up after the kids or get them and my husband to do it. They tried saying that I was abusive for refusing to do housework while they visited, so I posted a picture of my home before they came and one I took during their last visit. I asked them why the house was so messy and dirty and if they had anything to do with it. They said it wasn't their mess. I replied that the house was clean before they showed up. Once they started getting dogpiled for messing up my house, they threw the kids under the bus. They said my kids were uncontrollable and it was their mess. I pointed out that there was no mess until they came, so obviously my kids could clean up after themselves when there weren't people telling them not to. My husband's siblings have canceled plans to visit because they know I won't be there to clean up after them or cook, so they'll have to cook or spend money on takeout and restaurants. Great outcome, in my opinion. My husband says I'm being unfair, putting all the work of cleaning up on him. I said he has 2 children to help him, as well as adult guests who should be able to not make a mess. I also told him he could just pay for a cleaning service out of his discretionary funds if he wanted to let his family run rampant and not clean up after them. He said that I was being mean by not contributing and making him spend his money. I asked how much he normally spends on cleaning the house. The answer is nothing, since the 4 of us keep the house clean and tidy on our own. Am I the idiot for staying with my parents and refusing to come home whenever my in-laws visit? Not the idiot. Your way of handling this is brilliant. The rule should clearly be that all adults pick up after themselves as a matter of course. They are humans, not monkeys at a zoo. All children are in training to learn how to pick up after themselves. And of course, the training doesn't stop just because the grandparents or the cousins come to visit. It has to do with a certain grade of civilization. Non-civilized people may not want to pick up after themselves, but other people may choose not to associate with them on any level. I'm sorry, but you have a husband problem, not an in-law problem. Yes, they are messing up your house, but your husband won't stand up to them or back you up. The easiest solution is to tell them they must stay in a hotel when they visit you. No more freebies, no more maid service. Until things change, enjoy a nice visit with your parents when the in-laws roll into town. I don't think OP has any problem, thanks to her ingenuity and spine. She's handling this brilliantly and has taken herself out of the equation. She would have a husband problem if she felt trapped with her visiting in-laws and cleaning up after them without help or support. But it sounds like she did it once or twice and then peaced out. They can either change, be uncomfortable, or stop coming. It's up to them and not her circus. Know the difference between in-laws and outlaws? Outlaws are wanted. OP's husband needs to pull his head out of his butt and take responsibility for his home. How spineless. If his family was trashing the house and he didn't have the guts to say anything, he is responsible for cleaning it. I'm very curious if OP's children are both boys, though. This feels like it could possibly be misogyny and internalized misogyny on mother-in-law's cause. Expecting everyone to keep a house together is not abusive. It's being fair. Expecting the wife mainly, especially if she's the only woman or girl living in the household, well. My son has a young teen daughter, Clara, and a teen stepdaughter. My son isn't in a good financial situation, and while they do their best, they can only afford necessities. A few days ago, Clara visited us, and we talked. I asked her about school, and she told me that she's having a lot of problems because she needs a computer for some of her homework. She needs to visit the library, which is far away from their home, to do her homework. Also, kids are making fun of her for not having a phone. As a grandmother, I can't just watch my granddaughter struggle. So even though we aren't in a very good financial situation, we use some of our savings to buy a MacBook, phone, headphones, and a few school supplies for her, and she was obviously very happy when she received our gifts. However, this has caused problems because my daughter-in-law is mad that we didn't do the same for her daughter. We told her that instead of getting upset, she could ask her child's grandparents to buy things for her, and she called us idiots. My son informed me that daughter-in-law has been trying to get Clara to share, but they've refused. Not the idiot. Your son and his wife should not show favoritism. You have the right to contribute as you like. Clara needed it. Does the step-granddaughter want it just because Clara has it? Or does she truly need it as well? Also, you say that step 1 has 2 sets of grandparents alive. Are they treating both children equally? Blended families are difficult to manage, but it's the parents who want to blend. You have to respect their decision, but in my opinion, you can choose how you spend your resources on them. You are the idiot. Big time. How cruel are you? And hearing that your blood granddaughter won't share with her stepsister shows that she's learning from you. Neither one of you is the main character. You probably could have bought 2 less pretentious computers for the price of a MacBook. I say this as a person who has had both and finds the MacBook overpriced. As a grandmother, I would have gifted the computer to the parents, the phone to the granddaughter, and something else to the stepdaughter. Their household is now a hostile environment, thanks to you. My 33 male parents, 64 female, 68 male, own a country house, and there's this tradition for every child in our family to plant a tree there. I did it myself when I was 5, and so did my brother, sister, nephews, and nieces. I have a young grammar school-age daughter with my ex-girlfriend. My mother called me to ask if I'll have my daughter for Christmas. We usually spend Christmas in the country house because now she's old enough to plant her tree. I told her that my daughter would spend Christmas with her mother. I'll see her in a few days before going to the country house. But also I said that my stepson, pre-tween, my wife's 36, son from her first marriage, would be there. My mother was silent momentarily and told me she didn't consider having my stepson plant his tree. I was very offended by that. It made clear that she doesn't see him as part of our family. She then said there's no guarantee he'll remain in our lives, which implies she's considering that my marriage to his mother may not last. I told her if that's how she feels, she shouldn't expect us for Christmas this year. Was I too harsh? I wonder if I could be an idiot, because it is her property after all, and she does have the final say. Not the idiot. My son is technically my stepson. His biological mother is not a part of his life, and he considers me his mom. If my family pulled a stunt like this, I would go low contact with them. Rather than let a child plant a tree, which could be moved or cut down later, your mother wants to exclude the child? There's no guarantee anyone will remain in your life, but your mother's excluding a child because she doesn't value your marriage. That's what I don't understand. Even if they get divorced, why does it matter that there's a tree planted by someone she no longer has a relationship with? And if it were a problem, why couldn't she just remove it at that point? Or just leave the tree up, even if they do divorce? It's not like the tree's gonna grow with leaves that have little Timmy's face on them. It's just a tree. Who cares who planted the seeds? Seems like it would be worth it to make the kid feel accepted. I wonder if this has more to do with OP splitting up with the ex rather than their current partner, or if they haven't been together too long. It sounds like the mom is more distrustful of OP rather than spiteful to a child. It would be nice for her to include the child in the tradition, but it should also depend on whether the kid wants to be included. This is something everyone loves to complain about every single time a step-parent or family tries to force the family ideal onto. I think there's a lot of relevant information that's missing. His father and his paternal grandparents are present in his life, so he sees my parents as just that, my parents. However, my parents saw him this past year more often than they saw my own daughter because my wife has full custody of her son, and he's with us most of the time. My wife and I have been married for 1 year, plus 2 years of dating. You went from 0 to 100 pretty quickly. You mentioned that the child doesn't view your folks as grandparents, that they are your parents. Do your parents treat your stepson well, otherwise? Maybe if a relationship grew over time, he could plant a tree further down the road. However, right now, it sounds like he's your new stepson who already has grandparents. Seems like an extreme reaction. You are the idiot. I, 25 female, worked for a university from 18 to 21. For many years, I felt university wasn't for me, as although I had good grades, my self-esteem was pretty low, and I thought I wasn't good enough for university, and I couldn't even afford it. I worked as an assistant for various departments, and many of my colleagues who taught students said that they could see my potential, and they finally encouraged me to apply. I decided to apply to the university and got in, and I was accepted onto 4 scholarships that are designed for students with lots of potential, so I no longer had to worry about applying for student loans and not being able to afford them. Last year, I was meant to be in my final year of university, and I should have graduated, but a student was making up rumors about me and this lecturer having an affair, which didn't happen. The university soon picked up on these rumors and started its own investigation. At first, the lecturer and I had to stay separated, which meant I missed half the classes, as she was one of the 2 teaching me that year. 2 months later, the lecturer got suspended with full pay, and 5 days later, the university sent me an email to my personal email account and told me that I was being suspended and that I wasn't allowed on university grounds and that I wasn't allowed to contact anyone at university. The staff who was investigating these rumors fully believed that we were having an affair, and we were suspended for 9 months so they could find evidence of our affair. As a result of them taking 9 months, I ended up failing the final year, and now I have to retake it. While suspended, these rumors about the affair spread through the campus fast, and everyone knew. I had a friend who I now consider my best friend who made contact under a secret Snapchat account. He asked for my account, and he said he fully believed me and started doing his own investigation to find out who it was. I'm running out of word count, so to keep it short, after speaking to various students, he finally found evidence that a student had made up the rumors and started and reported it to the university. He found concrete evidence and took it to the investigation team, and they closed the report and allowed us back to campus. But the student didn't get suspended or punished. All she was made to do was retake the 3rd and final year, and she had to pay for it, whereas I didn't. Now I'm in class with her, and she struggles a lot. She keeps requesting my help because I always understand the assignments and the fact that I know what to do. She's fed up with me saying no and spoke to our former classmates, and now they're saying I'm an idiot because I keep holding a grudge against her because of what she did and the fact I nearly lost a degree, which I haven't, and they're stating that I should help her out. Am I the idiot for refusing to help her when she nearly cost me a degree and a teacher her career? Holy crap! She endangered your education and career as well as the professors. She cost you a year. It's nuts she'd expect anything from you. Clearly she doesn't understand the impact of her actions. I'd tell her to never speak to me again, or I'd go to your university and report her harassment. Not the idiot, but why was no action taken against the student? She should be nowhere near you. You're a better person than me, OP. With all that happened to you, I would have looked into legal action and ensured that the student was banned from campus. Do not interact with her or help her in any way. What? Wow, what a story. I'm very sorry for you. This person is objectively dangerous. Stay away for your safety. Think of the most neutral way to say that she really messed you over, and it's just a practical matter to stay away. There's no need to be nasty. It's sensible. How quickly the truth of that sinks in is not your concern. My husband, 39, and I, 40, female, have been married for 12 years and have 3 kids, tween, pre-tween, and kindergartner. I was a stay-at-home mom for most of our kids' lives and only re-entered the workforce 2 years ago when our middle child reached kindergarten, so we didn't have to pay an arm and a leg for daycare. I've worked my way up the ladder in my chosen field and finally feel like I'm more than just a stay-at-home mom. My company holds a big black tie gala for Xmas and holiday party every year. Last year we could not attend due to my being sick, so I was really looking forward to it this year. My sister even agreed to drive 3 hours to spend the night with the kids so we didn't have to worry about a babysitter. I bought a lovely fancy dress, and my husband rented a tux in preparation for the event last Friday. Then the week of Thanksgiving, my husband's favorite uncle passed away. My husband didn't have a relationship with his dad growing up, and his uncle didn't have kids of his own. So his uncle was a father figure for my husband, even if it was more of an uncle way. The funeral was held the week before my work event, but because it was held in another state that required a flight, only my husband attended. When he got back, I talked to him about it, and he said he was sad and grieving, but also said he was fine. Nothing about his day-to-day stuff was out of the ordinary, and he took a couple of days off work after he got back to have some time to process things. My sister arrived the day before my work event, and that night, my sister told me that he didn't feel up to attending the event. His reasons were that he was socially and emotionally exhausted, and the last thing he felt like doing was making more small talk with a bunch of strangers like he had to do at his uncle's funeral. I reminded him that my sister had just driven hours to watch the kids. I had already bought a new dress. He had rented a tux, and most importantly, I was really looking forward to this. He said I could still attend by myself, but I told him that it was also important to me that he come with me and that we hadn't had a date night in almost 6 months. He agreed to go, but he sulked about it the entire time. He dragged his feet getting ready, didn't socialize, didn't want to dance, etc. At one point, I lost track of him and found him sitting at the bar by himself. When I went to talk to him to try to get him to come and socialize with me, he told me that he had already told me he had no energy for that and that he only came because I made him. I told him if he was just going to sulk and drink alone, we might as well leave. And he said, "Great, let's go." I told him how disappointed I was that he acted that way at an event that he knew was extremely important to me, and he got defensive and told me it was my fault for dragging him there when he didn't want to go. He's barely spoken to me since, unless it's about the kids. You are the idiot for not going by yourself. Your husband just lost his de facto father. He's grieving. He told you that he was mentally and emotionally exhausted, which is valid given what he had just been through and just didn't feel like socializing, i.e., he said his cup was empty. You ignored your husband's needs and pressed him to go, even though he didn't feel like it. You could have gone solo and enjoyed yourself and let your husband stay home and relax while your sister was kind enough to watch the kids anyway, and while he had a break to restore himself. The kicker is, I think everyone in her job would have completely understood, and there would have been no negative recourse. Most people wouldn't have noticed if the OP had turned up alone. To be honest, I would find it much more notable if a colleague's spouse turned up and was an asocial idiot than if the colleague came by herself and said, "My husband sends his apologies. He had to travel for a funeral this week and is too tired to attend." That's normal and very relatable. And for God's sake, the man told you he could not socialize, but you hauled him out anyway, and you're angry with him because he was in no condition to socialize. What exactly prevented you from going alone? Could your sister not have gone as your date? And what exactly prevented you from letting your husband sit quietly at the bar while you hobnobbed with coworkers? His need to grieve, in my opinion, completely outweighs your desire for a fancy social event.